Recollections of a Soldier extends greetings to all you veterans. We invite you to follow the full memoir of a reconnaissance soldier from Company 20 Regiment 266 Division 341, the Esang Lame Corps, a unit twice awarded the title of Hero of the People's Armed Forces by author Chien Ngc Quang. Dear veterans, this memoir was previously read on our old channel over 2 years ago. This time, Recollections of a Soldier would like to compile it into full volumes for your convenience. We look forward to your feedback and contributions. We invite you to follow Part 1. The author enlisted on April 20th, 1978. By July of 1978, he participated in driving out the Pol Pot forces from the southwestern border area. After that, he fought on the Cambodian battlefield until November of 1980 when he returned home. Before we step back into the smoke and fire of the battlefield to relive these unforgettable memories, please take a moment to subscribe and turn on notifications. Your support helps ensure that the sacrifices and the youth of these soldiers are never forgotten. Now let's return to the front lines. The war has receded by nearly half a century. Now back in civilian life, I often recall the memories of my youth. I want to write down so much, but I fear I might forget some details. So please allow me to share this as if it were a conversation among comrades. If there are any inaccuracies, I hope my fellow soldiers will help supplement them. In April of 1978, I was in the 9th grade with about a month left until summer vacation when I received a draft notice for a medical examination. At the time, I thought it was just a formality since the country was no longer at war. Furthermore, I was still a student and not yet 18 years old who would draft me. I thought it was just to fill the registration quota for the city unit. Then suddenly the enlistment order arrived. Back then, I was very excited and proud in front of my classmates. There were class parties, neighborhood parties, and I was somewhat surprised to find out I hadn't been admitted to the youth union yet, along with HI and HA, my classmates. A later went to Military Region 9 and sacrificed his life. His remains have not been found to this day. Then the day of departure arrived. Parents and friends came to see us off joyfully. But those happy moments passed quickly. We boarded the bus and were taken to the Keelang training camp. I don't know about you guys, but on my first night away from home, I felt quite normal. I didn't feel homesick at all. In the first few days, having some money in our pockets, we often ate out among the civilians and didn't bother with the army rice. A few days later, discipline began. In the mornings, we went into the forest to cut thatch grass to build barracks. A few of us new recruits shared a single sickle. Once we even plotted to wait for the guys from H-Teen-H to carry their thatch past the Keelang Dam to bathe so we could steal their bundles and run. Thinking back, we were quite mischievous. Then we were divided into battalions, scattered everywhere. I was assigned to Battalion 12. That was when we finally received our military uniforms and gear. We officially became soldiers of the People's Army, no longer looking ragged like someone who had lost their rice ration book. And as you know, losing a rice ration book in the subsidy era was a true misery. We were given a day off to visit our old unit to collect our exchanged money. Meeting fellow countrymen was a joy. Only then did I understand the value of the word compatriot. Reflecting on it, it was funny how they exchanged money with no small change. If you had 550 dong, you only got 500. The 50 was kept. Let's call it even comrades. Then we officially entered training, the period of hunger and hardship. The money was gone. In the morning after tidying up, each of us got a lump of boiled wheat flour dough slightly bigger than a bicycle bell cover. Lunch and dinner consisted of a half bowl of rice and a lump of dough. We just wished for the training period to end quickly so we could move to a new unit. I don't know about your training, but for us, it was mostly going into the forest to build barracks. During the entire training, we only threw one stick grenade. Finally, the 3 months of training ended. We were anxious because other units had already taken their troops. One evening after roll call, we were ordered to rest the next day to prepare for handover. We were thrilled. That night we had a farewell party with a bit of fresh sustenance, but I don't know how the cooks prepared it because that night we were all racing to the latrine as Tio the diarrhea chased us. The battalion medic had to come down to distribute medicine, and it took 2 days to stabilize. Our intestines were thoroughly flushed. 2 days later, we woke up, had breakfast, and received orders to pack up and march to LC, the end junction, where the military region's buses were waiting. And so we were on our way. The soldiers on the bus started guessing. Some said north, some said south. I was fine with either, but I preferred the south. When we reached BIVT Junction and turned right, yes, south it was, I was delighted. The 10,000-mile journey began leading to a place I wouldn't revisit for 31 years. As the bus passed through H-Town, many guys whose homes were near the highway threw letters out the window, hoping someone would pick them up and deliver them to their families. The guys from Anchanan had no one to send letters to since no one was going back that way. By noon we reached Quang Binh. The sun was terrifying and the white sand dunes seemed endless. The soldiers on the bus quieted down, dozing off to the roar of the engine. Occasionally a jolt would wake us and we'd ask, "Where are we?" No one knew. I sat silently thinking of my parents, siblings, and friends. I wondered when I would see them again. I missed them terribly. I wondered if my close friends still remembered me or if the summer break had made them forget. As for a girlfriend, I had none to miss. I had only hung out with a bunch of guys skilled only in mischief. It wasn't until I got to Cambodia that I regretted not having a bit of romance to remember, so that if I joined my ancestors there would be a girl shedding tears for me. That afternoon the bus dropped us at the Anh liaison station. We bathed freely and the dinner that evening was memorable white fragrant rice and 3 dishes. Oh my heavens, it had been 3 months since we had such a meal. 3 months of training on half a bowl of rice and a lump of dough with pumpkin and dried fish, stiff as matches, yet we survived. The next morning we received a loaf of bread for lunch and boarded trucks, this time southern cargo trucks. We crossed the HIVN Pass and reached En Chi in the afternoon, staying in a former puppet regime training camp surrounded by barbed wire. Yet some guys still managed to sneak out for a stroll. For the first time we enjoyed sugarcane juice, strange and delicious. After 2 days in Inning, we continued south. We stayed overnight at Phan Rang Airport and the next morning drove straight to Eng Nai. The trucks dropped us at an unknown location where bananas were plentiful. I remember a guy named the Eng from CD bought a whole bunch for 3 dong, and we ate until we were full. Then we gathered roll call was read and we boarded Rio trucks to continue. Around 4 a.m. we reached our final destination. The trucks dropped us in a Catholic churchyard. We were divided into groups of 3 and led to civilian houses to stay. The houses here were neat, spacious and clean with many star apple and coconut trees. I found it strange that the elderly spoke with a northern accent while the young spoke with a southern accent. I later learned these were migrants from 1954. We jokingly called them those who chased the French too far. Later I learned this was KOX Hamlet, Ti Ninh province. The village was peaceful, but there were very few young men aged 20 to 35. We were told they were away for re-education. The next day we gathered in the churchyard to hear officers talk about the battlefield situation and unit discipline. The following day we retrained on infantry weapons, axe and support weapons, since we were practically blind to them during basic training. While stationed there, some veteran soldiers returned from the southwestern border to find fellow countrymen. I asked around and found out some guys from Vinh City were in the field hospital. The next day, a few of us rented Honda Loy motorized tricycles to visit them. We crossed the BNSI ferry. The hospital was about 1 kilometer away. We had lunch with them, and I met Anh Cheng from Battalion 9, a neighbor. When we left, they advised us, if you have anything to sell, sell it now and spend the money. We had nothing left. Everything had been lost along the way. But I still had a relatively intact K-74 shirt tapered at the waist. I traded it for sugarcane juice to share with my friends. About 4 or 5 days later, one afternoon, the order came to assemble the entire unit. Names were read, units assigned. Goodbye, fellow soldiers who knew if we'd meet again. We, a line of new recruits, marched off. The sky began to pour rain, perhaps tears mourning the soldiers heading to the border with little chance of return. At dusk we reached Than Ian Commune Ti Ninh. Units were scrambling to board trucks to retake a lost outpost. We gathered in a villager's yard. A manpower officer walked down the line, shining a flashlight to select people. I thought circular selection usually means a good spot, so I slipped into the selected line. I was assigned to the battalion headquarters of Battalion 8 Regiment 266 Division 341. The officer in charge of us was a small man wearing a helmet low over his eyes, a chest rig with 3 magazines, a folding stock, a K and a backpack made from an American sandbag. He led us to an empty house the civilians had evacuated. We cooked dinner, laid out mats, and slept. I lay next to him and a guy named Nah. They were from the same hometown. Nato deserted when the unit moved to Svay Rieng because he couldn't take the heat. We stayed at the hospital crossroads in Th Thieng area for 2 days, then regimental trucks picked us up. We went back towards KOX, turned left, crossed the BNSI ferry and stopped. The veterans told us, if you have money, buy cigarettes now. You won't have a chance to spend it later. I had over 1 dong left and bought tobacco. I kept 2 50 dong bills from the old regime as souvenirs. The trucks moved on. The road was terrible, the trucks crawling inch by inch. We all stood swaying with the bumps. On both sides, fields were abandoned, grass growing wild. Occasionally a house appeared desolate. The atmosphere on the truck became heavy. The officer said, "Here is the border." We looked around, bewildered. Border here, no landmarks, no border post, just a low, small earthen berm. We crossed the border without administrative procedures or passports. I looked back east. In the distance, Black Virgin Mountain stood lonely and sad, like a gentle mother sending her children to war. From here, the trucks crawled. It wasn't a road, but fields. Engineers had laid logs across the mud for the trucks. It was a gloomy afternoon. In the distance, bursts of explosions echoed, sometimes intense, sometimes sporadic. Later I learned this was the stretch from Thi Ninh into Cambodia, about 3 kilometers long, generally called the hospital crossroads area. Trucks carrying wounded soldiers had to pass through here. The wounded lay on the trucks, which bounced over the log roads in the mud. It was torture. The sugar palm trees stood ragged and sad, witnessing the suffering. The trucks stopped. We got off. A scout named Louis N. led us along a trail to a stilt house standing in the water. The roof was intact, but the house was open and drafty, surrounded by flooded fields and wild grass. We set up camp. Water for bathing and cooking was plentiful right from the fields. After dinner, we gathered to hear Louis N. tell war stories. We sat open-mouthed, listening. He pointed toward Black Virgin Mountain. "If we lose the post, just look at that mountain and run towards it." And then a chilling sentence, "Absolutely do not let Pol Pot capture you. They do not have a prisoner of war policy." Oh, heavens, I had read books and seen movies where they were always pals. But here I had to accept it, either I live and they die or vice versa. That night we were assigned guard duty. More than 10 of us shared Louis N's AK rifle. We laid mats on the ground. The mosquitoes were terrible. Suddenly, explosions everywhere. We panicked. Louis N, lying in his hammock, woke up and said, "They're attacking the far outpost," and went back to sleep. But none of us could sleep. We huddled together, talking until we drifted off from exhaustion. Around 4 a.m., another battle erupted. We jumped up like headless chickens while Louis N slept on, as if nothing happened. Morning came. After eating, Louis N took me and 2 others to battalion logistics to get supplies. We walked about 500 meters west, turned right at a crossroads and went 2 kilometers to the logistics house. We waited outside. I wandered into the bunker to chat with some veterans. Finally, Louis N came out and led us back. We received our gear, a set of long clothes, a parachute hammock, a poncho, a plastic sheet, a canteen, and a wide American belt. We were taught how to hang hammocks. That noon, unable to sleep, I asked Louis to borrow his AK to test fire it, as I had picked up some loose bullets at logistics. He nodded and even gave us a full magazine, but warned, "Go out there and shoot into the sky. Do not shoot horizontally." We were thrilled. We went to the road and took turns shooting single shots only. We fumbled with the selector switch. A group of veterans passed by and gave us more ammo in paper boxes. We loaded and fired again. Suddenly, some soldiers later, we knew they were regimental military police, approached and asked which unit we were from. "Why are you shooting wildly new recruits?" With faces like piglets, we went silent and walked back. They followed us in and shouted, "Who is in charge here? Who let you shoot indiscriminately?" Louis sat up in his hammock and said calmly, "I let them shoot so they get used to the gunshots and won't be scared in battle." It sounded reasonable. The MPs left tossing back a warning, "Don't shoot horizontally." Okay, and so we went back out to shoot some more. Around 3 p.m. we gathered to march to the battalion position. While waiting near the logistics bunker, Sun, a guy from DNHU who later joined the Scouts and died at Bavet, picked up a 60mm mortar shell and chased us around with it. The logistics staff ran out and yelled at him. Later we learned it had no fuse. At dusk, threatening rain, we were led to a dilapidated stilt house behind logistics to stay. We fixed the floor with planks. After settling in, 4 of us went with Louis N to get rice and receive weapons, 2 brand new AK rifles in plastic cases. We had to boil water to clean the cosmoline grease off them. The stocks were red, the steel blue, the bullets golden. That night, guard duty was strict. Don't wander off lots of mines. So relieving ourselves became a problem. The next morning we were assigned to platoons within the battalion headquarters. I went to the transport platoon with T. H.N. went to communications. CNCU and QC went to the scout squad. In the transport platoon I shared a bunker with Khan and Trong. It was cramped. The bunker was dug deep, lined with planks, with water sloshing underneath. The guard post was 30 meters away, a deep hole with a plank across it to sit on next to a coconut tree. After dinner my first guard shift on the battlefield began. I was prioritized for the first shift, 6 to 8 p.m. Sitting in the guard hole lost in thought, suddenly UMBLA gunfire tore the sky. Reflexively I dove into the bunker, wet as a rat. The veterans rushed to combat positions. One veteran came to comfort me. Calming down, I peeked out. Tracers were everywhere, flashes lighting up the corner of the sky. The battle passed. I finished my shift, still trembling, my clothes soaked. I couldn't sleep from fear, waiting for dawn. I dozed off, then BOOMBOOMBOOOOOO attack. I rushed to the bunker again. Looking east, the sky was graying. Gunfire faded to sporadic shots. When it was fully light, the veterans told me we were at the second line of defense, so it was relatively safe. Thus passed the new recruit's first night holding a gun. The next morning we went to regimental headquarters to get ammo. Passing the battalion HQ, I saw an 85mm gun blocking the road. Further up, a 37mm anti-aircraft gun lowered for direct fire. A truck was stopped and stretchers were being offloaded. Curious, I climbed up to look. Oh my God, I jumped down and ran in terror. Dead soldiers, TS mangled and bloody. That was the first impression of war for a new recruit. Years have passed, but that image never fades. We got the ammo. I had to carry 10 mortar rounds on a yoke. It was incredibly heavy. I walked sideways like a crab. That afternoon the sky turned dark, signaling heavy rain. The platoon leader assigned to an A-77 recruit and a new recruit me to carry ammo to the forward outpost of the battalion HQ. In return, we would be exempt from guard duty that night. We carried M72 rockets, AK ammo and grenades. Passing the scout guard post, we warned them not to shoot us on our way back. We tied our long pants around our necks and waded through waist-deep water along a cleared channel. In the distance, a mound appeared with dismantled stilt houses turned into bunkers. We delivered the ammo. Before we could catch our breath, a veteran urged us to return and tell the battalion to fire mortars at reference points 1 and 2. We waded back cold and scared. Reaching the guard post, a shout halt "Who goes there?" to replied, "It's me." We were terrified. The guard hadn't been informed of our return. Back at the platoon, I washed up and crawled into the bunker to sleep. Suddenly I was woken up to stand guard. We're short on men, everyone guards. So I grabbed the gun and went out. Sitting there grumpy, suddenly rustle right in front of the hole. I stared, nothing. Wind blew rustle again. I was terrified. Ghosts. Then I realized it was a dried coconut branch scraping against the tree trunk. The shift ended. I slept better. Suddenly, BOOM, the neighbors were fighting again. Morning came. I visited TNA squad leader from my hometown. He taught us how to guard at night and distinguish sounds, rats versus enemy. Then I visited B, who taught me to tape 2 magazines together and never empty a magazine completely before reloading. He also warned me about the M72 rocket. If you pull it out, don't mess with it. These were the first elementary lessons for a soldier. Back in the bunker, I bailed out water and picked some sour leaf plants, red stalk, yellow flower, to cook soup. That afternoon, we transported ammo to the infantry companies. I was assigned to carry ammo to Company 5 with another new guy. The platoon leader pointed the way but didn't specify the distance. We carried a K&B 40 ammo, walked about 1.5 kilometers through dense brush. Suddenly a voice called out, "Hey, you two turn back immediately, the enemy is right up there." We spun 180 degrees, terrified. "We're delivering ammo to Company 5. Company 5 is back here, good heavens." He walked 10 meters past the outpost because of the dense bush we didn't know. We delivered the ammo and I chatted with a friend before returning. A lesson learned, we almost became bait for Pol Pot. War became fiercer. Mid-August to early September, the enemy attacked constantly. Casualties rose. It was the rainy season. Living in bunkers, rain above, water below. Soldiers looked pale, clothes always wet and smelly. Ringworm appeared on our skin, itching terribly. Pol Pot's firepower pounded our positions with savage shouts. But our soldiers fought back resiliently. Failing at one spot, they would attack another. Sometimes they attacked several companies in one night. Our bunkers were solid, so casualties were minimized. Pol Pot troops out in the open, flooded fields suffered heavy losses. One day our transport platoon was ordered to set up a post in front of the battalion HQ on 2 mounds with ruined stilt houses about 300 meters away. We built bunkers. It was like an oasis, 5 or 6 guys surrounded by white water. Bored, we sang everything from revolutionary songs to bolero, cooked whatever we could find and slept. It was the second line, so it was safer, but we still had to be vigilant. Then came a period of relative calm. Occasional gunfire, mostly at night. Sometimes artillery duels. Pol Pot was still strong then. They always started attacks with firepower to demoralize us. We waited until they were close to fire back. Eventually the enemy seemed to tire. Days became strangely quiet. We rested, bathed, but kept guard. The sun came out, drying our clothes. We fixed bunkers and went improving our meals, fishing. We made fishhooks from ammo crate bands and lines from hammock cords. We caught small fish for sour soup. Though calm, we remained alert. One night, just after I finished my shift, heavy weapons fire hit the first line, only 100 meters away. Frenzied shouting. B-40, B-41, DKZ explosions lit up the front. Then adjacent posts were hit. The firing lasted 30 minutes, paused, then resumed even more violently. We worried for the guys up front, but the gunfire continued, meaning the post still held. Behind us, the regiment's 120mm mortars fired continuously. To the left, an 85mm gun and a 37mm gun direct fire pounded the enemy. Tracers flew low. As dawn broke, the division's artillery began its barrage, guided by the forward observers. After the coordinates were set, they pounded the area ahead. Pol Pot troops must have been decimated. By 8 a.m. the guns fell silent. Both sides were exhausted. The posts of Battalion 8 and Regiment 266 held firm. Casualties were light on our side. Later I heard the enemy suffered heavy losses, but we couldn't retrieve weapons due to the open, flooded fields. 2 days later we were relieved and marched back to Hospital Crossroads. Trucks took us towards Sfaireng, maybe Sankey. We stopped in an area full of sugar palms. We set up camp on a high mound. The next day, no march orders, a day of rest. We went looking for vegetables. We found a guava tree behind an abandoned house and feasted, bringing back helmets full of guavas for the others. After lunch, I went with TNT to return a machine gun to Battalion 7. While there, we heard a jet fly over, then bombs exploding on the enemy side. The plane circled back, and this time 3 black bombs fell towards our unit. We ran for our lives. The bombs exploded about 500 meters away. Company 17 engineers were clearing mines on that road. 1 bomb was a dud, 2 exploded. Miraculously, only 1 engineer was wounded. If the pilots had released a split second later, we infantry would have been wiped out. That night, orders came march at 1 a.m. It was raining heavily. We couldn't sleep. We got rice balls for lunch. Company 5 main assault, followed by Company 6, then 282mm mortars, then Battalion HQ. To the left was a flooded field where Company 7 lay in ambush behind a low dike. My transport platoon stayed on a mound to the left of the road. I fetched water from a pond, added a purification tablet. Dawn broke. Order to fire division artillery and mortars opened up. 2 infantry companies advanced. About 50 meters from the enemy Pol Pot firepower hit back hard. 6 M113 apes supported us, splitting to both sides. Enemy B40 and DKZ fire pinned the apes and infantry down. Company 7 in the low ditch and Company 5 was stuck. Around 8 a.m. one APC crossed to the right, but hit a mine and flipped. Another crossed a small bridge, hit a mine at the edge, collapsed the bridge and flipped into the stream. By 10 a.m. we still couldn't advance. We crawled in to pull out the wounded and dead. If we lifted our heads, we'd eat bullets. Crawling inch by inch. One soldier in the flipped APC was crushed and drowned, his head bobbing in the water. Noon. After evacuating casualties, we ate rice balls. I went to the pond where I got water earlier to wash my hands. Oh God, a bloated Pol Pot corpse was floating right there. I had drunk that water. I tried to vomit but couldn't. The battle ended in a stalemate. My first mobile battle was a loss. We slept on ponchos. The cause of failure, the enemy held the high dike while we attacked across open fields. The next day we went to the regiment to get ammo. My group, Miton HN and Chien. Walking back about 500 meters from Battalion HQ BOOMI dove down. A shell exploded 10 meters away. I saw Chien spin halfway around before falling. HN was screaming about his leg. I ran to Chien, turned him over, he was dead. Torn, bandaged HEN. I ran to get help. We carried them to the field hospital. Tuan and I washed Chin's body, put on a new uniform for him. A piece of shrapnel had hit his heart. His skin was pale, eyes half closed as if sleeping. This was the first time I witnessed a comrade die. Strangely, I didn't shed a tear then. I wondered if my soul had become calloused. But writing this now, tears streamed down my face. After burying him, Tuan prayed, "Protect us." We walked back silently. Who would be next? 3 days later, we were relieved and trucked to Bayvet MCBI border gate area. It was raining, the road muddy. We camped in the ruins of a house. Kantrung and I set up a shelter against a wall. Suddenly, CRASH, the wall collapsed on us. We were dug out, injured in our backs. We were taken to the regimental hospital. Trung was transferred up the line. I never saw him again. I thought my spine was broken, but after injections I recovered in 5 days. Opposite the hospital was Battalion 25 Transport. I visited a hometown friend there. He invited me to go with his truck to Ti Ninh. I visited my adopted mother in KOX. She and her daughters Lone and Fieng were happy to see me. When I left, Mother said, "If it's too hard over there, come back here with me." On the way back, I thought, "Mother, if I had other thoughts, I wouldn't be here. My comrades are ahead, my family behind. I accept everything. I'd promised myself to finish my duty before returning." I returned to the unit, now resting in a mangrove forest near the Archway Junction. Early October 1978, I was transferred to the Wire Communications Platoon. The transport platoon leader probably thought my back injury made me useless for heavy lifting. I learned to lay wire. 3 days later, I was sent to Company 7 to replace a broken radio. I struggled to unspool the wire. I'd never been trained. A veteran had to show me, laughing, "New guy, huh? Good grief." October, dry season approaching. Fields drying up. We caught fish by bailing water out of ditches. Plenty of fish. We stole cabbages from passing logistics trucks until they put guards on them. Then we just asked and they threw us some. I went looking for fruit with hoang. We found a coconut tree but couldn't climb. So we used an axe to chop the whole tree down. It fell onto the road, coconuts scattering. The battalion deputy commander saw it and sent a runner to catch the culprit. We signaled no and ran away. The runner pretended to look and reported no one found. Phew. After 20 days of rest, we marched to Route 1, then Route 13. We stopped at a small hamlet where guerrillas had engaged Pol Pot the day before. The next day we deployed along Route 13 to block the enemy from connecting their east and west forces. My wire team was east of the road. We camped near a stream where we used B-40 rockets provided by Southern soldiers to stun fish. One time, while fishing, heavy fire erupted from Company 6's post nearby. We ran back naked, grabbing our clothes. One night, the line to Company 7 broke. Hui and I went to fix it. We stayed at Company 7 overnight because the 5-kilometer jungle path was too dangerous. Next morning, passing a burnt-out ambulance, I saw the driver's footprint still on the gas pedal. Savage Pol Pot. I took a shift at Company 7's outpost, near a crossroads. It was attacked almost every night. Later, 2 armored cars and an infantry company, not ours, came to clear the road ahead. They fought for hours. Casualties were carried back. Back at Battalion HQ, I met Anjay Cheng Red A. Cheng, who gave me 20 dong from my parents. He told me my brother had enlisted too. I missed my family, worried about my 5 younger siblings in the subsidy era. One day, Battalion 9 troops passed by carrying American weapons M79 jackets. We moved 5 kilometers back down Route 13, turned right into the forest along a new engineer road. Heavy rain soaked us. We wore helmets and American sandbag backpacks to look like veterans. We marched deep into the forest towards the VMC River. The area was crowded with troops preparing for a major campaign to stop Pol Pot from attacking Thi Ninh on December 22nd to 23rd. The order came. My first deep penetration battle. Night march. Crossing the pontoon bridge over the VMC River. Mud knee-deep. Reaching a high dike to rest. Smoking with hands cupped to hide the light. Dawn. Artillery barrage. Infantry assaulted. It was a perfect surprise attack. Enemy resistance was weak. We captured the objective without casualties. We found a Pol Pot logistics base with food still cooking, but the sight of dead bodies nearby made it impossible to eat. We advanced west, capturing a field hospital, abandoned bloody bandages. Battalion HQ advanced in a line across golden rice fields. Victory, we slept in an abandoned stilt house. Morale was high. Day 2, attacking southwest. Crossing a swamp with rubber boats. Encountered enemy at the forest edge. Company 678 fought hard. Victory, but with casualties. Advancing through the forest to a clearing. Enemy opened fire from the other side. Our mortars and DKZ responded. Companies flanked the enemy. We encircled and annihilated them. Over 20 bodies found. One was a female soldier identified by a pink bra. We took about 8 casualties. Moving forward through dense forest to a large clearing. Battalion 8 moved across. Suddenly heavy fire from the tree line ahead. The whole battalion was pinned down in the open. 10 to 15 minutes later, 5 M113 APs arrived from behind. We cheered. The political officer waved his hat to signal them. The APs fired 12.7mm guns and advanced with us. We took the forest edge. Enemy fled, leaving over 10 bodies. Their bunkers were very solid. We evacuated wounded and dead to the rear. Walking back through the battlefield with the smell of death was eerie. Reached the field hospital, handed over casualties, got rice, and slept like logs. Day 3, the campaign continued. Marching back to the unit. Met a friendly unit regiment. VMC joined them. Sounds of heavy fighting ahead. Met our transport team carrying casualties. Rejoined the unit. The battlefield was littered with enemy bodies. Passing a clearing, infantry engaged again. More casualties on our side. C from logistics. Killed. The advance continued, rolling attack flanking tactics. Enemy resistance crumbled. By 5 p.m. we reached a clearing. Cooks started fires. Suddenly BOOMTAN from Company 8 stepped on a mine while fetching water. He died. We carried his body. Night march through a swamp dark as ink. Reached a mound. Slept in hammocks. 1 a.m. gunfire erupted right in front of the transport and mortar platoons. Enemy footsteps running towards us. We fired. Shouting LATLN surrender/hands up morning revealed a pile of enemy bodies right in front of our positions. Some feigned death near the mortar position. They were fleeing remnants, running blindly into our ambush. We captured young prisoners, 14, 15 years old, a huge victory with 0 casualties for us. We continued west, crossing the VMC River again, unsure of name, marching across abandoned fields. Note on the HAHI forest battle: by the second day the Pol Pot forces had broken formation and were fleeing in chaos. Our units were intermingled, front and rear became indistinguishable. End of campaign gathered at a large field. Soldiers looked like beggars, clothes torn. Night march to a main road. Trucks passing. We walked in a daze, sleeping while walking. If we stop, we sleep. If we go, we submit. If we die, we're buried. The march continued deep into Cambodia, passing abandoned villages. Late night stop. 30 minutes rest. Then march again. 5 more kilometers, the longest 5 kilometers ever. Soldiers cursing. Finally stopped. Slept immediately. Next morning, marching again. Arrived at an assembly point abandoned from dry season, no water. Forbidden to drink from stagnant pools. No bathing for days, smelling like owls. After a quiet day, we went to the regiment to get ammo. Saw artillery and apes moving towards our unit. A big battle was coming. The Battle of January 1979, the door opening or NIJP Battle 1 a.m. wake up. 2 rice balls breakfast/lunch marching in silence. Engineers had cleared the path. 3 a.m. arrived at position. 2 85mm guns and 1 37mm gun set up for direct fire at the edge of a FUM facing a large open clearing. Battalion HQ dug in behind them. Dawn Division artillery fired. Then our direct fire guns and mortars opened up. Assault infantry and 4 M113 APs charged. Open field flat as a table. The trap when we were 30 to 50 meters from the enemy line of FUM edge, they unleashed hell. Heavy fire pinned us down. Stalemate troops and APs stranded in the open. Enemy counter-battery fire silenced our 85mm guns. My namesake Quang jumped into my foxhole in panic. The apes retreated. Infantry remained pinned. Casualties massive. Wounded dragged back. Heat, thirst. Snipers picked off anyone who moved. Result, the attack failed. A painful memory for Battalion 8. If the APs had pushed just a bit further. Night retrieving bodies, TS crawling in the dark to the wire. Found the bodies near the enemy line. Tied ropes to legs to check for booby traps, then dragged them back. Enemy fired sporadically. Losses: 3 radio operators, Mein Shi and Kin killed. Aftermath, we withdrew. Regiment 273 took over. Advanced to the west, marching past abandoned towns. Battle at a large FUM backed by a mountain encirclement. Mortars fired. Enemy fled into the mountain. We took the village. Reaching Route 1 saw the highway convoys. Rested at a pagoda, found a Pol Pot medicine depot. Looted antibiotics. Mekong River Neek Luang ferry. Bathed in the river. Crossed the ferry. Target Phnom Penh. We realized the scale of the campaign. Road to Phnom Penh littered with bodies and weapons. Saving a baby, a soldier found a living baby and gave it to Cambodian female soldiers. Night march, sleeping on the roadside. Hitching a ride on a truck to the city. Refugees seeing Cambodian people returning, looking fearful. Arrival Saigon Bridge entrance to Phnom Penh guards stopped us. City liberated Jan 7/8, we stayed outside. Sweep operation South civilians asking for medicine. We gave them what we looted. Route 4 truck ride to Pochentong, then west. Ambush convoy stopped by gunfire. Driver terrified. We deployed. Found tracks of enemy armor. Ammo dump, burning enemy ammo crates. Getting sniped at. Chicken farm, feasting on chickens. Battalion commander joined in. Night attack on ammo depot, Kampong Spoo area, marching while sleeping. Battle at dawn. Incident: H&H spotted an enemy hiding in bamboo. We grenaded him, capturing the complex Chinese advisor's house, nice clean. Warehouses full of fabric, fish sauce, sewing machines. Looting alcohol, ammo, old motorbikes. Stationing guarding the bridge and railway line. Carelessness went fishing in front of Company 6's post. Pol Pot troops fired at us. We ran for our lives. Never went far again. Company 8 firepower situated in an old lone knoll base. Lots of American ammo. Tailoring using captured fabric to make clothes, bell-bottom soldiers dressed in a motley fashion. Part 1 of the Memoir of the Reconnaissance Soldier of Company 20 by author Turin Ang Si Quang pauses here. Thank you sincerely for taking the time to follow. If you found it interesting, please remember to click subscribe to support the channel and follow the next parts. Once again, thank you very much, and goodbye, friends.